Welcome to the course Design of Reinforced Concrete Structures. Myself, S. Krantwijaya, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Vignan Institute of Information Technology, Duvada. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss regarding the introduction to the various loads acting on the structure, what is meant by structural design, what are the objectives of structural design, and the code of practice for reinforced cement concrete structures. So first we'll see what are the different loads acting on the structure. So if there is a structure, what are the loads acting on the structure will be? So we have 5 kinds of loads which are acting on the structure. The loads being the dead load of the structure, the live loads, the wind loads, we have the snow loads, and if the structure, if it is located in a seismic zone, then we have the earthquake loads also. So these are all the loads which are acting on the structure externally. So the loads acting on the structure externally are the dead load. So what is dead load? Dead load is nothing but the self weight of the structure. That is, for example, here is a structure, what you can see. Here is a building. So in this building, it consists of several structural elements. So what are the structural elements? We have the beams, columns, slabs, the footings, the walls. So all these are the structural elements. So the weight of all these structural elements, okay, comes under the dead load. That is, the total self weight of the structure comes under the dead load. So dead load is nothing but the self weight of the structure. So the next type of load which is acting on a structure is the live load. Okay, so the live loads are also termed as imposed loads, or they are also known as the service loads. So now let us see what are the live loads. So the live loads in a structure are the temporary loads, and these loads will change with respect to time. So for example, in this particular structure, you can see the furniture, isn't it or not? So the furniture, that is the load of the furniture, comes under the live load, and the movement of the people also comes under the live load. So the live loads, they might be either static loads, or they might be the moving loads. So moving loads in the sense is what? For example, let us take our institution, Vignan Institute only. So we have college timings, isn't it not, from 8 to 4. So in between this time period, the students and as well as the faculty members will come and go. So what? The load which is acting on the structure, it is not permanent, it is temporary, and the load will also vary. So all such kind of loads, that is the loads of the furniture as well as the persons moving within, all those loads comes under the live load. So the live loads are here temporary, and they change with respect to the time. And the next loads are being the wind loads. So where you can see wind loads is considered in the design when you are constructing tall structures. For suppose, if you are constructing a multi-storied building, if it is a G plus 30 storied building, okay, so what, it will be so tall that at heights the wind forces will be more. If there is a chimney, or there is a tower, all these are structures which are having more height. So all these structures will be subjected to the wind forces. So the wind loads has to be considered in the design of such structures. So this wind load is also a load, external load, which might act on the structure. So the next one is being the earthquake load. So in seismic regions, so in the design of structures, what we have to take? We have to take into consideration the forces due to the earthquake, that is the seismic forces, has to be taken into consideration and the design has to be done. So due to the earthquake we will get the seismic forces, that is the earthquake loads will act on the particular structure. So those loads should be taken into consideration. So those are also the external loads in the earthquake regions or the seismic regions. And the next type of load is the snow load. Snow loads in the sense is what? In cool climatic areas where there is snowfall. In such kind of cases, due to the snowfall, there will be an external load will be acting on the structure. So that load also has to be taken into consideration while designing. So the snow loads are the load due to the snowfall. So these are all what? These are all the loads which are acting on the structure externally, that is the dead loads, live loads, wind loads, earthquake loads and the snow loads. So as some external load is acting on the structure, what will happen? Internally within the structural members and the structure, they are going to develop some internal forces, isn't or not? So now let us see what are the internal forces or the internal stresses which are developed within the structure. So now the types of forces on structures internal. So due to the application of loads, it might be either wind load, dead load, live load, earthquake load or the snow loads, the internal forces which are developing are, we have the tensile forces, we have the compressive force, we have shear forces and torsion. So regarding all these forces, you have already learnt in your strength of materials. In your previous subjects, you have already learned regarding all these forces. So what is a compressive force, tensile force, shear force and torsion, and all you have already learnt. So all these are what? The forces which are internally developed within the structural members due to the externally applied loads. So what? Here you can see the compression and the tensile forces. So what? Tensile forces is what? This is the tensile force. The tensile forces are what? These are the tensile forces, and due to the tensile forces, what it will happen? The member will elongate or the member will tend to stretch. If you can see here, the force is applied in this direction, and due to that, what will happen? The member, it will start elongating. So next one is what? The compressive force. So the compressive force is what? How it is applied? The compressive force is applied like this. So due to the application of the compressive force, what it will happen? The particular member, it will shorten, okay, or there will be a decrease in the volume of the members. So due to this, there will be a decrease in the volume of the members. So the next one is the shear force. So what is shear force? So in the shear force, what we can see? So there will be a pushing. One part of the body will go in one direction and the other part of the body will go in the opposite direction. So due to the shear force, if you can observe here, what is happening? One part of the body is moving in this direction, and the other part of the body is moving in the other direction. Here also it is the same. One part of the body is going in one direction, other one is moving in the other direction. So that's the shear force. So next is what? Next is torsion. So what is torsion? Torsion is nothing but the twisting of an object due to the applied torque. So if you can observe here, you can see the due to this applied torque movement, what is happening here? There is a twisting in the body. So all these are what? These are the internal forces which are generated within the structural members due to the application of the external loads. So what is the subject? The subject is design of reinforced concrete structures. So in the previous lectures, we have already seen what is meant by the reinforced cement concrete. Now what? Design. Design in the sense is what? Here we have to do the structural design. So till now what we have discussed, that whatever the structure it might be, some kind of external loads will be acting on the structure, and due to the action of the external load, some internal forces will be generated or developed within the structure and the structural members. So if we build a structure, if a structure is being constructed, what is the main what is the main point we have to keep into consideration? That the particular structure should be sufficient, the particular structure should have sufficient strength so that it can withstand or it can resist all the forces which are developed within the structure, isn't it or not? So if you construct a structure, what it should resist the all these forces which are developed within it, and it should be stable, isn't it or not? So there comes the role of structural design. Okay, so what you have to do here, we have to design the structure, that is the structural members, in such a way so that they can resist all the forces which are developed within the structural members due to the external loads acting on the structure. So now let us see what is meant by structural design. So before going into the point what is meant by structural design, first let us see the steps involved in any construction. For suppose, like let us take an example of constructing a building. Okay, so if we want to construct a building, what are the steps involved in the construction? So let us see that first. So the steps involved in the construction of a structure. So what is the first thing we'll do? We will identify a suitable location. So where we have to start constructing the structure is the first thing what we will do. So after identifying the location, what we'll do? We'll go for the surveying. The surveying of that particular area has to be done. So after surveying, what we'll do? As per our requirements, we'll draw the plan of the structure. So after the plan, we'll go for the plan approval. So after the plan approval, we'll go for the geotechnical investigations like the soil investigations. We'll find out what will be the safe bearing capacity of the soil and all. So all those investigations has to be done. So after that, we will determine the suitable form, the size and shape of that particular structure with the help of an architect. So after that, what we'll select the suitable construction materials. What could be the materials required for the constructions? So after selecting the suitable materials, what we'll do? We'll estimate the loads which are acting on the structure. That is, what are the possible loads which can act on the structure. So after the estimation of the loads, we are going to do the structural analysis. So why we are going to do the structural analysis? So structural analysis is to determine the internal forces which are developed due to the external loads which are acting. So after doing the structural analysis, we are going to design the structural members based on the critical loading conditions. So what here? We are designing the structure after we have done the analysis. So first we have estimated the loads, what are the possible loads acting, and we have found out the internal forces which are developing due to the external loads acting on the particular structure. And after that, what we are going to do? We are going to do the structural design taking into consideration all the critical loads. And next we will go for the detailed structural drawings. So because here what we are doing the structural design. So in the structural design we'll get the drawings for each and every structural member. So all those details and all are shown in the form of structural drawings. So after the structural drawings are prepared, we'll go for the estimation of the quantities. So for this we'll estimate what are the quantities which are required for the particular construction, and then we'll go for the tender for the building. After the tender is floated, we'll choose a contractor, and after the contractor is chosen, the contractor will construct the structure and he will hand over to the owner. So these are all the steps which are involved in the construction of a structure. Okay, so in all these steps, the main important step is the structural design. So what? The structural design is the main thing what we have to consider. Why? Why the structural design is the most important step which has to be done carefully? Because structural design, in the sense, what we are doing here is we are designing the members. So designing the members in the sense, for example, let us take a example of a structural member, beam. If you take the beam, okay, so if some external load is acting on the beam, there will be some internal forces generated within the beam. Okay, so if you construct that particular beam, so what is your main aim? The main aim is that the particular structural member beam, it should be safe. That is, it shouldn't show any deflections, or it should not show any crackings or deformations or anything. Okay, it should be able to withstand all the loads which are acting on it, and it should resist the internal forces which are developed, isn't it or not? So what here you have to do? So to do so, to resist all those things, what should be the breadth of the beam what you have to provide? What should be the depth of the beam what you have to provide? What should be the area of steel we have to provide? So all these parameters are very, very important. So all this comes under the structural design. So if you design the structural members in a proper way, then only the structural members all together, they will act as a single system, and all the structural members, they can easily carry the loads acting on it. They can easily resist the internal forces, and the structure will be stable and serviceable. So for that reason, the structural design is considered as an important factor. So throughout the further lectures, what we are going to see is, we are going to see the structural design only, the design of several structural elements like the beams, columns, slabs, footings. So regarding all these things, we are going to learn in our further topics. So now we'll see first what is the definition for the structural design. So what is structural design? So structural design is nothing but the process by which safe and economical specification of a structure or a structural member are found. So what? Safe. We have already discussed. So when you are designing a structural member, what? It should be safe, and it should be serviceable, and at the same time it should be economical also. Economical in the sense, you cannot provide as much depth, okay, as much depth as it is required for a beam, isn't it or not? You cannot provide more dimensions of the beam, because if suppose if the beam has to carry only 50 kilonewtons load, okay, if the load is only 50 kilonewtons, but you have constructed the beam for 100 kilonewtons, okay, so what is happening here? You are constructing the beam for extra kilonewtons, isn't it or not? So due to that, what will happen? Extra steel will be required, okay, extra concrete will be required, which is not economical, isn't it or not? So structural design in the sense is what? It is a process in which safe as well as economical specifications in the sense the cross-sectional dimensions, the area of steel, all this comes under the specifications of a structure or a structural member are finded out. So that is called as the structural design. So specifications in the sense is what? We are going to find out the cross-sectional dimensions, okay, the amount of reinforcement required, okay, Okay, and what is the area of steel and all which is required for the structural member, so it can withstand all the internal forces. So here I have taken an example. Okay, here the example of a beam. So for a given load, structural design, in the sense we are going to find out the breadth of the beam, the depth of the beam, the area of steel reinforcement required, and the diameter of the reinforcement. So for a given load we are going to find out all these things, that is we are going to design all these parameters. We are going to design for the particular load what should be the breadth of the beam, for the particular load to carry what should be the depth we have to provide, how much area of steel has to be provided, what diameter of the bar has to be provided, and how many number of bars is to be provided. So all these things are what we are going to do in the structural design. So here I have taken an example of beam. In the similar way we will go for the columns, slabs, footings, for all the structural members the same design, structural design is what we are going to do. So this is what a structural design is. So now let us see what are the objectives of structural design. So now let us see the objectives of the structural design. So whenever you are designing a structure, so what are the basic requirements? The basic requirements are the structure should be stable, isn't it or not? So whatever you are building, if you are building a structure, it should be stable. It should not tilt, or it should not overturn, or it should not slide, isn't it or not? So that is the one requirement. It should be safe, that is it should be safe for the persons who are using it, isn't it or not? And the next one is it should be serviceable. Serviceable in the sense is what, for what purpose is that particular structure built for? So it should serve its purpose, isn't it or not? If it is a residential building, then it should serve the purpose for the residents. If it is a commercial building, then it should serve for the purpose of commercial people who are coming in and going out without showing any signs of deflections or deformations. It should be durable. So durable in the sense is what? It should have a longer life and it should not get easily affected to the environmental conditions. And it should be economical, not only satisfying all these things. Okay, in economic point of view also the design has to be done. And the aesthetics, that is the appearance also should be good. So now in detail let us see the objectives of the structural design. So what is the first one? The first one is the stability. So what we have discussed, that is the structures should be stable, that is it should resist the overturning, buckling, sliding under the expected load. So under the loads the structure should resist, that is it should be stable. It should not overturn, or it should not buckle or slide under the loads. So that is one objective. So the next one is being the safety. So safety in the sense the structure should be able to carry all the loads acting on it without failing. Failing in the sense without breaking or without collapsing, isn't it or not? So if we construct a structure, all these things has to be achieved. It should be stable, it should be safe, and then it should be serviceable also. Serviceability in the sense is what? It should provide the service for which it is constructed up to the service life under the load. So under the loads acting on it, it should be serviceable. That is for suppose if the service of this particular structure is some 50 years. It should serve its purpose up to 50 years. It should fulfill the purpose up to 50 years. So that is called as the service life, isn't it or not? That is it shouldn't cause any discomfort to the people who are using it. If suppose if there is a structure, if the life of that particular structure is 50 years, okay, then in that 50 years, the particular building, it should not show excessive cracking or excessive deformation or excessive deflection. So if excessive crackings or if excessive deformations, if they are seen in the building, what will the persons use that, or or the persons who are using that will use that, they will, it causes very discomfort to the people who are using it, isn't or not? So the the structure what you are designing, okay, should be designed by keeping in view the serviceability point of view. That is, it should provide the service for what it is constructed, for the service life. So for the service life for 50 years, it should serve the purpose. So that is the other objective. So the next one is the durability. So durability in the sense is what? The structure should maintain its strength and serviceable in the working environment during the expected service life. So in that particular service life, the particular structure, it should possess enough strength and it should not easily get affected by the environmental factors. So then such a kind of structures are called as the durable structures. So the next one is economic. So if suppose taking into consideration the safety point of view, what we can do, if more safety is taken into consideration, we can either increase the breadth of the beam, we can increase the depth of the beam, more area of steel can be provided, so that what the safety margins will be high, more safety is assured over there. But the thing is, not only the safety margin, while doing the structural design, we have to take into account the economical aspects also. So increasing the breadth, depth and the area of steel will increase the amount which is required for the materials what you are using for the extra one, is it or not? So due to that, what happens, it is not economical, more amount is being spent for lesser loads, is it or not? So not only the safety aspects, the economic aspects also has to be taken into consideration in the design. So not only the initial cost, the maintenance cost also has to taken into consideration. So that is the other objective, which is economic. So and the next objective of structural design is the aesthetics. So aesthetics, that is appearance, is very important for all the structures. So whenever you are designing the structures, you should take care that they are elegant and at the same time they are economical and function. That is, the appearance should be good. So in that way you have to design the structure. So these are all the objectives of structural design. Now we have seen what is structural design and the objectives of structural design. So what I have told, that for carrying certain loads and to withstand all the internal forces, we have to design the structural members. But can we design as we like for suppose I will provide some 300 mm breadth of the beam, I will provide some 500 mm depth of the beam, I am going to provide some 3500 mm square area of the steel, I will provide dia of the bar as some 25 mm and I am going to provide 6 number of bars. Can I design it as I like, as I wish? No. So there are some certain standards and specifications and certain procedures, technical specifications what you have to follow while designing. So now let us see the code of practice for reinforced cement concrete, which is meant for structural design. So the code of practice. So what is a code of practice? The code of practice is a set of technical specifications intended to control the design and construction. So while designing, what we have to do, we have to take the technical specifications from the code of practice, and based on that only the design has to be done. And so in this code, what you'll have in this code? This code consists of some acceptable methods of design and the construction to produce safe and sound structures. So if we need the main objective is what? The structure should be safe, isn't or not? So to make safe and sound structures, this particular code they have given as what are the acceptable methods or the design procedures what you have to follow while designing the structural members. So for the design of reinforced cement concrete, we are going to use the code IS 456 2000. So by using this code IS 456 2000, we are going to design all the structural members in the further classes. So IS 456 2000. So IS here is the Indian standards. So IS 456 2000 is the code what we have to follow for the design of the structural members like beams, columns, slabs, footings. For all those things we are going to follow this code. So in the further lectures we are going to design all the structural members. So in the design of all the structural members we are going to follow the particular code IS 456 2000. We are going to consider all the technical procedures, all the equations and all from that particular code book only, and we are going to design the structural members. Thank you.